July 1954, Haneda Airport in Tokyo was packed with travelers trying to escape the summer heat. In the customs line stood a middle-aged man with a short beard and tired eyes, dressed simply, carrying a worn leather bag. He didn't stand out. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't nervous. He looked like someone who had done this many times before. When his turn came, he handed over his passport and waited. The officer flipped through the pages the way he had done thousands of times before. Then he slowed down. He checked the stamps. He checked the cover. Everything looked legitimate. But the country printed on the passport made him pause. The officer asked where the man was from. The man answered calmly, as if the question was obvious. He named a country called Taured. The officer assumed this was a misunderstanding. He asked the man to wait and called another colleague over. They spoke quietly. The man watched them, confused by the sudden tension. When the officer returned, he told the man that no country by that name existed. The man smiled politely at first, thinking the officer was mistaken. Then he asked for a map. When the map was laid out on the desk, the man pointed between France and Spain. He said that was Taured, and that he had crossed that border his entire life. The officers looked at the map and saw Andorra. They showed him the name. The man stared at it as if someone had changed reality while he wasn't looking. He shook his head and insisted the map was wrong. To support his claim, he produced money, identity cards, and official documents, all bearing the same unfamiliar country name. None of it looked cheap or rushed. The materials felt official. The designs were consistent. The stamps matched. This wasn't something made in a hurry. Whatever this was, it had been prepared carefully. Customs officials moved him into a private room. They asked about his work. He explained his job in detail and named the Japanese company he was supposed to meet. One officer called the company. The company had no record of him. Another officer called the hotel he claimed to have booked. The hotel confirmed no reservation under his name. These weren't vague denials. They were precise. According to every system they checked, the man didn't exist. The mood in the room changed. This wasn't about a strange passport anymore. This was about a man whose entire identity failed every verification. The man could feel the shift. His calm tone gave way to urgency. He stopped correcting the officers and started pleading with them to look again. He insisted that his life, his work, and his country were real, and that something had gone wrong with the records. What made the situation unsettling was how normal he seemed. He wasn't confused about dates. He wasn't rambling. He answered questions clearly. He spoke French like it was his native language. He switched to Japanese without hesitation. He used English to clarify details. He wasn't hiding behind language barriers. He was trying to be understood. In 1954, officials were trained to think about spies. Countries were suspicious of anyone who didn't fit neatly into records. The idea that someone could appear with flawless documents from a country that didn't exist was alarming. The authorities didn't have proof of a crime, but they also couldn't release him. They decided to hold him temporarily in a hotel room while higher authorities reviewed the case. The room they chose was on the 6th floor. There was no balcony. The windows were sealed. 2 armed guards were placed outside the door. This wasn't meant to be punishment. It was meant to be control. The man didn't resist. He looked exhausted more than angry. He asked when this would be resolved. No one gave him a clear answer. The night passed quietly. The guards heard no movement inside the room, no raised voices, no calls for help, just silence. In the morning, one of the guards knocked. No response. He knocked again, louder. Still nothing. They unlocked the door and entered. The room was empty. The bed had not been slept in. The window seals were intact. The door lock showed no damage. The man was gone. So were his belongings. The passport, the money, the documents. Even the items stored as evidence back at the airport were missing. There was no record of him leaving the building, no explanation in any report. The case was quietly filed away as unresolved. Over time, the story took on a life of its own. Some people believe the man crossed into a reality where his country didn't exist. Others believe he was a highly trained intelligence operative, using documents designed to confuse officials. Some researchers point to a real con artist from the 1950s who traveled with multiple fake passports and believe the story grew from that case. But regardless of how you interpret it, the human part of this story is what stays with people. The image of a man watching his world fall apart in front of officials who could only tell him he didn't belong anywhere. Not because he broke a law, but because the place he said he was from didn't exist in their records. Imagine being told that your home country was erased overnight. No proof, no records, no history. Everything you know about who you are suddenly becomes impossible to verify. How would you explain your existence to people who only believe what's written on paper?